It all starts when Lex, the protagonist of this story, finds himself getting reincarnated once again into a normal farming family in a faraway mountain village. In his previous life, Lex was a hero who had defeated every enemy he encountered using the strongest sword at that time. But what really sets him apart from the rest is his ability to stay immortal by being reincarnated like this again. Lex was referred to as a sage by everyone in his previous life, but despite all the compliments he received, he has always been caught in those troublesome things. In other words, this time around, he would love to live peacefully, living a normal life even without those flashy titles like hero and sage. From now on, Lex aims to become an adventurer and feel the true feeling of freedom, something he didn't experience in his past life. Fast forward 15 years later, Lex grew to become the strong man that he aims to be. Compared to his previous world, being 15 years old in this world is considered to be an adult. So technically, Lex will now have to look for a job on his own. Thankfully, Lex's parents are very much supportive of his dream of becoming an adventurer. Before he leaves town, his parents even remind him to take good care of himself since life may get a bit too harsh in the real world. Lex was so close with everyone in his village, so they even made sure to say goodbye to him before he leaves. From now on, Lex can finally start a life of freedom. A life of being an adventurer, however, he has one problem. The nearest town of Taogai is a little far, so it will take him about half a day to get there on foot. Lex has spent all morning participating in the maturity ceremony, which is why he ended up leaving the village a little late. Wanting to finish the adventurer registration as soon as possible, Lex tries to hurry by buffing both of his legs with magic power. Doing so, Lex ended up having the ability to fly without any restraint. Now that he already has a bird's eye view of the place, Lex went to use his short-range teleportation magic. But before doing so, Lex felt like it's a perfect time to hunt. Lex immediately roams around the forest to find his first target. He immediately locked his eyes on a dragon. Using his proud sword, Lex uses his previous life's knowledge and take this dragon down easily. First, Lex boosts up his speed with haste and then storms it in one go. However, he suddenly notices that the dragon seems to be paying attention to something. But instead of trying to find out what it is first, Lex went straight for the dragon's throat, slicing it like it's butter. As soon as he finally took down the creature, Lex went on to harvest as many materials as he could from the dragon and store them in a magic handbag he made himself. From the outside, this bag is just a normal bag, but the space inside it has been expanded by magic. So no matter how big something is, it will fit perfectly in this bag. After bagging all the items he just collected, Lex went to finally find a place to stay as the sky is turning dark already. But before he left, he heard something that caught his attention. However, instead of checking it out, Lex ended up not minding it anymore. Little did Lex know, someone was observing him the whole time. Before Lex came, a group of knights encountered a problem. They were attacked by a monster while on a trip. This monster is even more terrifying than the green dragon that even an army with the best soldiers wouldn't be able to handle. Then suddenly, when they were struggling, a young boy appeared. The soldiers didn't even realize that the battle was already over. After that, in front of their eyes, that same teenager took out a small bag and then absorbed all of the giant body of the dragon inside it. This extremely extraordinary scene is the only thing that crossed the knight's mind. Although the surprised looks on their faces were so apparent, they still couldn't believe that a teenager like Lex could own a magic item like that magic bag in the first place. So to know more about him, the knight planned on talking with Lex. But before he can even have the chance to do so, Lex flees the scene immediately without hearing his calls. In the blink of an eye, everything ended. But there are still a lot of questions left inside the knight's minds. But for now, one of the knights named Leo is worried for the princess, who is resting inside the carriage right now. Immediately, one of the knights assured him that the princess is safe and that there's nothing to worry about. Leo is relieved since the princess is safe. However, at the same time, his heart feels really heavy. It may be because of his fight with the dragon a while ago. Despite them surviving, the fact is that they still don't have any clue what on earth is going on. Leo is motivated to know more about Lex, no matter what. The next day, Lex finally made it to Taogai town. He immediately went looking for the Adventurers Guild to officially register himself as an adventurer. After going through a sea of people, Lex finally finds his way to the guild. The loud chattering inside the guild excites Lex. Immediately, he went straight to the reception to register. However, when he got there, the line was already long. While Lex was in line, he was startled to see a man with a Hulk-like body lining up in front of him. The man went on to ask him if this was his first time lining up at this hour. With so much excitement, Lex revealed that it is his first day. Based on how Lex acts, the man immediately knew that he must be a newbie signing up as an adventurer. It was quite a surprise for the man, considering he didn't really expect there'd be any people coming for the adventurer registration like Lex, considering almost everyone lining up was adventurers reporting their missions. Now that they are already at it, the man went on to ask Lex where he came from. With much enthusiasm, Lex immediately answered, stating that he came from Zenge village. Lex's excitement on becoming an adventurer surprises the man, as he never expected Lex to talk about his quite tiring journey from his village to reach this town with such ease. Eventually, after waiting in line for a while, it was finally time for Lex to head to the front. He immediately excused himself and went to talk with Elma, the guild's receptionist. Without even saying a thing, because of how loud and excited Lex was talking about it earlier, Elma immediately knew he wanted to register to become an adventurer. Without wasting a minute, Lex filled in the form and handed it over to Elma. After that, Elma tells him that he'll be arranged for a reality skill test afterwards. Since this is Lex's first time, he pretty much doesn't have any idea what it is. One of the adventurers then enters the scene and tells Lex that it's an actual combat, but for trial purposes, to see if he has what it takes to be an adventurer. Lex turns around to see who is talking. Based on how the man talks and acts, Lex already has a good impression of him. The adventurer stands tall and acts as if he is the toughest adventurer in the building. Org, the adventurer who fascinated Lex with just one look, asks Elma if he could take charge of Lex's test. Elma was surprised to hear this, considering Org is an A-rank adventurer who doesn't usually do this that often. Org then explains that he finds Lex to be so promising, coming for the registration at this time of day. On top of that, he also whispers something to Elma, making sure Lex doesn't hear a thing. After hearing what Org has to say, Elma ended up allowing him to take charge of Lex's exam. Elma immediately apologizes to Lex since Org may get a bit harsh with his way during the test. However, she assures Lex that Org is a good fit to do this task, considering he is their retired guild staff and is currently an A-rank adventurer, so Org's advice might be deemed useful for Lex to use in the future. After hearing that, Lex immediately respected Org as if he were the king of the world. As they were about to start their test, Org reminded everyone to conclude their material purchases for the day. Now that Org has mentioned it, Lex immediately remembered that he also has some items to sell. Since he is technically broke right now, Lex has no choice but to sell the materials he obtained from the magic item he hunted the other day to pay for his room and food while he stays in town. Laughing, Org tells Lex to immediately hand over the items he collected to Elma to get them priced while they start with the test. Hearing how supportive Org is, Lex immediately takes out his magic bag. At first glance, the bag looked pretty small for any item to fit, but as soon as Lex revealed what was inside, everyone in the guild was frozen in place due to shock. Even Org, an A-rank adventurer, was speechless seeing how massive this creature is up close. Meanwhile, Lex acts all casual, even apologizing to everyone for placing the green dragon's body on the floor. As if this wasn't a big deal, Lex went to Org to start his test. But before anything else, Org asks him straight away if he is indeed the one who hunted this thing on his own. With confidence, Lex revealed that he took this creature down on his way to the guild alone. Org asks him questions about his methods and how he managed to terminate the thing, and the way Lex casually answers every query with much enthusiasm makes this whole situation even more unbelievable. So when Lex tells Org that they should hurry with his test now, Org loudly announces to everyone that Lex has already passed. This confused Lex, considering they haven't fought yet. Org, acting like he just won the lottery, explains to Lex that the test is only for ordinary people, but considering Lex has already caught a magic item on his own, he automatically passed the exam. Although this wasn't really what Lex had expected, but since it's already official, he can't help but get happy about it. To make things official, Elma hands Lex his registration card, which he will use for every transaction and mission he does. Since Lex is still a newbie, he'll have to start at rank F and make his way up after every achievement he gains. When his rank rises, the number of possible jobs also increases. Despite that, Lex still has a little problem. The green dragon that he hunted is so valuable that the guild couldn't possibly buy it, as they may run out of money. The intact parts are rarely collected, but those parts are extremely valuable. considering the dragon's body wasn't injured that much, except for the slashed spot around its neck. According to Elma, the entire dragon is now considered a treasure. With that being said, they'll have to bring it to the auction at the capital to make the most out of it. Elma immediately asks for Lex's permission, hoping that he will entrust this item to the Adventurers Guild so that they can sell it at a worthy price. Surprisingly, despite that promising talk Elma gave, Lex was having doubts about whether he would let the guild bring this dragon to the auction. Lex was worried that he might not have enough money to use to sleep and eat for the night. His absurd reasons really left everyone speechless, knowing that selling this dragon will instantly make Lex rich by tomorrow, yet he still worries if he doesn't have a place to stay for the night. So Org steps in and offers to let Lex borrow some of his money. Lex immediately appreciated Org's kind gesture, so he casually gave him a piece of the dragon's gill. Org's eyes sparkle as if he is looking at a diamond when Lex hands him the gill. Although this might not be a big deal for Lex, this was indeed for Org. So without hesitation, Org takes Lex to dinner, telling him to order whatever he wants to eat. To Org's surprise, everyone in the guild ended up coming with them, openly celebrating the fact that Org is now also rich because of the dragon gill Lex gave him. And so everyone feasted to their heart's content in the nearby pub. They were feasting like crazy that Lex couldn't stuff anything more into his stomach anymore. And eventually, Lex made his way to the inn where he lay for the rest of the night. Before shutting his eyes off, Lex is excited for tomorrow as his life as an adventurer officially begins. The next day, Lex immediately heads to the guild, excited for the day. As he got inside, he immediately went on to check the mission board. As he is trying to look for a mission to do for the day, one of the adventurers refers to him as the Dragon Boy from yesterday. Lex was a bit delighted hearing others call him, since it makes him feel like everyone in the guild already knows who he is. The adventurer did ask him if he plans on getting any missions at the moment. When Lex said he plans on starting with repeatable F-rank missions, the adventurer gave him an odd expression. Lex didn't want to think much about it, so he just went on to choose all the F-rank missions he could find on the mission board. After scanning through the board for a good minute or so, Lex finally found his first ever F-rank mission. His mission is a repeatable mission of gathering herbs. The reward is only 3 silver coins per bundle of 10 herbs, but it's not so bad considering this is repeatable. Furthermore, he also remembered that according to Org, there is no penalty for failing to complete a repeatable mission. Aside from that, Org also advised him not to take missions that he feels like he couldn't fulfill, since he will be penalized if he doesn't meet the client's deadline. With that being said, Lex ended up choosing what Org advised him to take for his first missions. Besides, Lex also feels like he would be able to do great with this mission, considering he gathered a lot of herbs to make potions back in his hometown. While he is at it, a boy suddenly approached him, asking him if he would take that mission. As it turned out, the boy, together with others who look the same age as Lex, is also planning to gather some herbs as well. Considering they are of the same age, the boy immediately concluded that Lex must be doing this to train just like them. Lex then went on to observe the 4. With the boy's agile appearance, Lex is certain that he must be a light swordsman. Meanwhile, the girl behind is a rogue. Next, considering their equipment, the other 2 must be a warlock and a priest. The boy then introduced himself as Jero, the leader of the team, Dragon Slayers. After hearing Jero say that cringeworthy group name, the others immediately tell him to stop using it already. As the group starts to argue, Lex takes Jero's side and reveals that he finds the name cool. Jero then acts as if he is the main character, encouraging Lex to do something more dangerous and complicated than gathering herbs. After hearing that a mysterious dragon slayer appeared at the guild yesterday, Jero is now motivated to be as good as that mysterious man. Hearing Jero mention this made Lex wonder if there is any other guy besides him who came to sell a dragon. Then, as Jero kept on telling him more about this mystery guy, Lex eventually realized that Jero was actually referring to him. Eventually, Jero finally said goodbye to Lex, still reminding him to take the cool missions in the future. Jero's other members then went on to apologize to Lex for Jero over the over-the-top energy before leaving and following their leader. Seeing how the group went made Lex realize that having teammates is actually great. But right now, thinking about such things is less important for Lex since he still has a mission to complete. So without wasting a minute, Lex immediately went to the woods to look for herbs. While roaming around, Lex remembered that back in his hometown, doing this kind of thing was an ordinary thing to do. But strangely, as he thinks about it, now that he is already an adventurer, doing this job somehow makes him feel special. Since gathering herbs was like a routine chore for Lex, it was not hard for him to look for the herbs he needed to collect. As he moves to the shade and picks up some of the herbs scattered around, Lex remembers that the herb leaves have a special ability to spread. As long as he leaves the roots, the herbs will usually grow again, no matter what. Eventually, over the next hour, Lex was able to gather all of the herbs he needed to fulfill the mission. He got so much that it won't be just for the quest. He might even be able to pay back the 5 silver coins he borrowed from Org the other day. Considering he is doing well for his first mission, Lex couldn't help but be happy about it. As he is about to make his way back to the guild to sell the herbs, he is surprised when someone shouts, telling him to stop. However, just as soon as he did so, he was surprised to see that there was no one around. At this rate, Lex is starting to realize that something odd might definitely happen. Immediately, he sharpens his senses and tries to find out where that something is occurring. After much concentration, he finally found where the sound was coming from. Lex immediately reconfirmed the situation from above. To his surprise, an evil boar is coming his way. The evil boar is also called demonic boar. They have an incredible rush attack and are even faster than horses at short distances. Their fur is invulnerable against low-quality weapons. Compared to most monsters, they appear very frequently, and they inflict heavy damage to both nature and humans. And the most frightening thing is their herd behavior. So at this point, since the boar looks like it's very agitated, there's no sign that they will stop anytime soon. Considering the herd is running along the route to the town, Lex is worried that they might inflict damage on the town and the people in it. So, as an adventurer, Lex decided to take matters into his own hands. For Lex, as an adventurer of the guild, he must fight monsters that attack the city, as it is his duty. After all, when a group of monsters appears, the guild will usually discard all profits for the sake of defending the city. So to ensure he lives up to that duty, Lex will do everything he can to make sure these monsters will not inflict harm on anybody. On top of that, Lex also aims to become the hero that will inspire generations of children, just like what the other heroes of the past did to him. However, defeating this massive herd of evil boars wouldn't be that easy. Unlike the green dragon, there's no need to pay attention to the monster's conditions, but Lex will still have to be careful not to destroy the forest. But before making any move, Lex tries to find out if the boars are even chasing someone, since based on the direction they are heading, Lex is certain that they are definitely chasing someone. Lex tried to use his power to detect who these wild boars were chasing. To his surprise, it's actually a group of adventurers, but since he still can't take a clear picture of who these people might be, Lex decided to take a closer look. To his surprise, it's actually Jero and his party. As soon as Lex sees that the group is struggling, he immediately steps in and takes on the evil boars on his own. Jero and his crew stopped and were quite surprised to see Lex, the newbie, out of all people to defend them from these evil creatures. A while ago, Jero and his crew went on to tackle some of the missions they had taken from the guild earlier today. But as the party followed their leader deeper into the forest, they all ended up getting chased by these wild boars. Jero himself couldn't even believe that they ended up in such a situation, considering that when they were going through the forest at first, they were just fighting weak monsters like goblins or kobolds. Aside from that, since Jero had a little training with former adventurers, and his party is complete with allies that have magic, he was confident that they would be able to clear all obstacles and could easily win when trouble arises. However, the only thing they were not expecting was a herd of powerful, evil boars chasing after them. Aside from that, even Jero, who is the leader of the group, hasn't really faced any of these monsters before. Although he had an idea that these monsters are usually terminated by knights, guards, and adventurers outside the city, but fighting against one up close is definitely not a job for newbies like them. They ran for their lives as fast as they could. But along the way, one of Jero's members stumbled and was about to get trampled by the monsters. Jero ended up contemplating whether he should help or just run away. As he finds himself in a tight spot, Lex enters the scene, swinging right into one of the monsters. At that moment, seeing Lex, a teenager just like him, helping them astonished Jero. Despite Lex being young, Jero sees him as someone strong for some reason. While Jero and his party are somewhat falling apart right now, Lex tries his best to defend everyone. Since one of Jero's crew is injured, Lex went on to use his range healing magic power called Distant Heal to treat the priest's injuries. Now that it has finally been taken care of, Lex tells the priest to move aside while he takes care of the evil boars on his own. Despite this being a hard fight to win, Lex will do everything to make sure everyone's safe. To ensure that he'll get ahead of the boars, Lex decided to incorporate some of his fighting tricks like Hold Tree. It is known that the highest binding magic is the Hold Tree. This magic transforms trees into something like ivy to capture enemies. This is a net made from trees with high elasticity and high stiffness. Plus, it is also reinforced with magic. Using this assures Lex that the boars cannot escape anymore, no matter how much they try. While Lex is busy taking care of these monsters, on the other hand, the girls were quite amazed to witness an adventurer like Lex cast magic without chanting. Lex was quite confused since he had been using magic without chanting in most of his fights before. Then he suddenly remembered that he once lived a life of a hero, so his memories of his previous lives helped him to calmly fight in his new life now. However, that is quite the opposite of these girls and Jero, considering they have little actual combat experience yet. With that said, as Lex realized that he had far more experience than most people, it even made him more motivated to ensure he solved this problem wisely. Using his iron sword, Lex channels electricity from the sky into the sword electrical as if he were Zeus. As the electrical current rushes through, the small sword has now transformed into a large lightning weapon. Using this, Lex went on to slam the herd of evil boars in one go. This shapeless blade of lightning takes the boars' lives simply by boiling their blood. This is one of the many skills Lex learned in his previous life. Fortunately, because of Lex's veteran skills, the town and Jero's party are now finally safe. On top of that, Lex was able to terminate the boars without damaging their skin, which means he can sell them back at the guild. But before heading back, Lex checks out Jero's party. When he found out that almost all of them were drained of magic, he immediately gave them some of his mana, which made everyone energetic again. While Lex was collecting the bodies of the evil boars he had just terminated, Jero went on to thank him for saving them. Lex immediately assured Jero that he was just doing his duty for his fellow adventurers. Jero then asks him his name, since Lex didn't really have the chance to introduce himself to Jero back when they were talking at the guild. As soon as Lex introduced himself to Jero, Jero didn't even hesitate to express his amazement at what Lex had just done a while ago. After witnessing how powerful Lex is, Jero now starts to call him Big Bro. On top of that, since Jero was so amazed by Lex's skills, Jero also went to ask Lex to let him become his apprentice from now on. Stunned, Lex couldn't even say a word. Despite him not needing an apprentice, Lex ended up gaining one that day. Fast forward, after that tiring day, Lex finally made it back to the guild. There, Elma congratulates him for completing his very first mission and also ranks him up to D rank. However, this confused Lex a bit as he was never really expecting to get promoted to D rank just by gathering herbs for a mission. After all, it is not common for F rankers to rank up twice just by doing one F rank mission like what Lex did that day. So to make sure, Lex just asks Elma about it. But before Elma can even reveal the reason, Jero steps in to talk to Lex more about what happened. But before Jero starts fanboying over Lex again, his crew immediately drags him out of the guild, leaving Lex to smile awkwardly, looking at Jero getting dragged away by his crew. Although Lex was a bit troubled when Jero asked him to be his apprentice, Lex still thinks it's not that bad to have someone approach him in an honest way like that. As Lex remembers it, in his first and second lives, the people who approached him were mostly people with bad intent. Lex still vividly remembers that some of the people in his past lives will praise him as a hero or sage, trying to convince him to help their cause or steal his research. His quiet pondering was immediately interrupted when Elma went on to ask him if there was something wrong. Lex immediately assures her that everything's fine by smiling at her brightly. At this point, Elma finally went on to give him his reward. To his surprise, Elma handed over 15 gold coins for collecting 50 bundles of herbs. Lex then immediately remembered what he was just asking Elma a while ago about the reason why he suddenly got ranked up. Lex is worried that his promotion might be some sort of mistake. However, Elma is quick to assure Lex that everything was not a mistake. To ensure Lex doesn't overthink it, Elma goes on to explain everything to him. The first reason why Lex ended up getting promoted to D rank is because of the large amount of high-quality herbs he collected during his mission. Since adventurers tend to get injured during their missions, there is no such thing as enough medicinal herbs for the guild. So for Lex to bring this much is really a miracle for the guild. Also, according to Elma, The evaluation team complimented Lex on how meticulous Lex is in collecting these herbs. But above all, the guild has also heard the report about how Lex managed to exterminate the evil boars back in the forest. And this was the very reason why he got promoted to a D rank right away. Lex didn't get it at first, so Elma continued explaining that beating evil boars isn't as easy as it may seem. Usually, only B-rank adventurers or higher can exterminate an evil boar, but the fact that Lex managed to defeat a whole herd is already a miracle for some. That is why the guild ended up promoting him to a higher rank, considering it would be their loss if they kept him in F rank. Originally, the guild wanted to promote Lex to B rank or C rank. However, because this is still his very first mission to keep him out of trouble, the guild decided to promote him to D rank for now. Considering Lex just registered as an adventurer yesterday, he might get into trouble with other adventurers if he ranked up too fast. But aside from exterminating the evil boars and collecting a bunch of medicinal herbs, the Green Dragon incident was also a determinant for Lex's promotion. But if people knew that it was his doing, things might get messy. That is why Elma informs Lex that the guild has been temporarily withholding his rank evaluation for slaying the dragon for now. Lex immediately gave Elma a warm smile, assuring her that there was nothing to worry about it since he didn't really mind it at all. In fact, deep inside, Lex wants to avoid as much trouble as he can. Now that they're already done with the serious talks, Lex went on to tell Elma about the evil boars he had hunted beautifully a while ago. He was so proud, stating that he had frozen their bleeding with a spell so that the germs won't get in through the wound. However, just like what happened yesterday, because of how beautiful the boar's body was preserved, Elma sadly informs Lex that the guild's budget is not enough to purchase them all. At this point, Lex is starting to get worried that he might not make a living out of being an adventurer if this keeps going on. Elma immediately assures him that there is nothing to worry about since the guild and a feudal lord will buy one boar each, and the rest can still be auctioned at the capital. After all, a monster with such a clean cut is a valuable resource to everyone. So Elma can assure Lex that a lot of people in the capital will buy these boars in no time to be used as research material. Since Lex is in need of money now, he wonders how much he will make out of the 2 boars the guild and the feudal lord will buy from him now. Based on Elma's calculations, Lex would make around 1,000 gold coins each. This shocked the soul out of Lex, considering this amount of money is already equivalent to around 33,333 bundles of herbs. So Lex immediately asks Elma if she is making some kind of mistake this time around. Elma is quick to tell him that, just as she stated earlier, evil boars are hard to defeat. So it is only natural that, given its quality, 1,000 gold coins is the value for one. However, this is only the guild's price. Since the feudal lord, Viscount Grimoire, is an aristocrat with a wide and fruitful territory, there is a big chance that he might buy the evil boar at a higher price. At this point, Lex still couldn't believe this was even possible. But since he has already made it this far, Lex also asks Elma for any updates regarding the auction of the Green Dragon. According to Elma, the dragon was already shipped to the capital and will be held at auction in 3 days. Just thinking about it makes Elma happy since she is certain that the dragon will definitely have a higher bid than the evil boar. At this point, Lex is starting to get dizzy from all the money talks. But he is still excited about it. But before Elma forgets it, she also told Lex something important. It turns out that the feudal lord, Viscount Grimoire, has invited Lex for dinner. Without even giving himself time to think about it, Lex immediately declined the invitation, shocking Elma. Lex immediately explains that he doesn't want to get in trouble, and it is pretty apparent that it's troublesome to deal with a noble. So even if the feudal lord promotes him as a knight, Lex would rather stay away from those high-class people as much as possible. So, without even contemplating it, Lex left the guild and went straight ahead to pay his debt to Org and rest for the night. Meanwhile, at the noble's mansion, the high-class individuals are talking about the upcoming auction. The news about the Green Dragon has already spread across town, and everyone is excited to get their hands on such an item. But something changed when one of the nobles revealed that he had heard a rumor that someone had apparently witnessed the scene where the dragon was defeated. The knight Leo is working for one of the nobles on a secret mission, and he revealed everything that he saw. Based on what Leo told him, the noble revealed to everyone that, according to Leo, a young boy suddenly fell from the sky, sliced the dragon's head off, and left. Although this is such an unbelievable story to many, the noble in charge of Sir Leo believes in the knight's story. But he couldn't worry about other things for now, since, for sure, the dragon at the auction is the top priority of everyone at the moment. As the noble starts to ponder what he should do about the auction, another noble enters the room and reveals to everyone that evil boars are also up for auction. This shocked everyone, as they had never really encountered this many magical creatures getting auctioned all at the same time. On top of that, the fact that the boars are in really good condition really made everyone excited. But what really shocked everyone was when they heard that the one who was selling these products is the same person and is an adventurer in Taogai Town. While everyone is wondering what is going on, the mystery adventurer everyone is talking about is just chilling, feasting on some lump sum of food, and just enjoying the night. The next day, Lex went to the guild as usual, trying to get his hands on his second mission as an adventurer. When Elma read the mission Lex had picked, she went on to ask Lex if he was sure about it, considering ditch cleaning is one of the only few tasks adventurers pick. In fact, ditch cleaning was more treated like a punishment than a mission to some. Considering Lex is already a D-rank adventurer, Elma tells him that he shouldn't bother taking this kind of mission anymore. Although Elma is right on that one, but Lex doesn't really do tasks for money anymore. What's important to him now is his freedom. Now that he has finally become an adventurer, he'd like to try out various missions, may it be small or big. Considering Lex is very much persistent about it, Elma had no choice but to give him what he wanted. Besides, Elma knows already that Lex doesn't have any problems with money anymore, considering his hauls over the past 2 days. Then suddenly, Jero enters the scene greeting Lex with the happiest smile ever. Just as usual, Jero and his party are having a teasing argument over their group name, and Lex is quite amused looking at them argue. After a good minute of backfighting, Jero went on to ask Lex about what mission he chose for the day. When Lex revealed it's ditch cleaning, Jero's smile faded so fast. Jero's blank face made him look like he was taking his midterm exam unprepared. After witnessing Lex's amazing powers yesterday, Jero was a bit disappointed with Lex's mission of choice. Dramatically, Jero went on to ask him the reason why he ended up with such a choice. But before Lex can even answer, Jero's members finally introduced themselves one by one. The first one is Norb, the priestess of the group. Norb immediately thanked Lex for his help yesterday, since thanks to Lex's healing magic, Norb's wounds healed up quickly. Considering how powerful and high-level Lex's magic is, Norb concluded that he must be someone very religious, to which Lex laughingly denies. Then Witch Mina also introduced herself alongside the thief Meguri. Since the formal introductions are now done, the group curiously asks Lex again about the reason why he chose to pick ditch cleaning among the pile of amazing missions he could take. Since Lex can't really tell the group that he is doing this to avoid attracting attention, he just went on to tell them the story of a great swordsman named Regard. Since this is quite a popular story in this world, Jero and his crew pretty already knew about it. Lex then went on to share the lessons he learned from that story with everyone. Although Rigard is known as a great swordsman today, in his early days, he was just a troublemaker who made everyone's life miserable. In the story, when the guild leader had had enough of Rigard, Rigard was ordered to do ditch cleaning for a year. Since Rigard had no choice but to do the job if he didn't want his license to be revoked, the troublemaker adventurer was relentlessly laughed at by everyone. There were already times when Rigard wanted to burst in anger. However, since he is dependent on his livelihood as an adventurer, he had no choice but to endure everything. Then one day, people began to thank him for cleaning the ditch earnestly. When Rigard heard those words, he started to feel ashamed of his past behaviors and turned over a new leaf. So, technically, Lex just wanted to experience what Rigard, the great swordsman, went through. But enough of himself, Lex went on to ask the group what they were up to for the day. Jero revealed that they'll pretty much be working during the night for today's mission. Lately, there has been a rumor going around about people hearing a creepy voice from the streets at night. So the townsfolk made a request to the guild to solve the mysterious case and find out where this creepy voice is coming from. So technically, Jero and his team will be having patrol work for the day. But despite that, according to Mina, the compensation is pretty good since it's night work. With that said, since they are free till nighttime, Jero asks Lex if they could accompany him throughout the day, since he wanted to take a look at Lex's work method. Lex was a bit confused since his mission was literally just a normal ditch cleaning. However, Jero is so dedicated to joining Lex nonetheless, since he feels like Lex might give him a hint to become stronger. Since everyone in the group is also curious about Lex's work ethic, the whole group ended up watching Lex work all day. To ensure they have a lot of things to finish for the day, Lex and the group immediately head to the first location. Despite the water looking so dark and murky, using his purification magic, Lex managed to clean the whole ditch in a snap. Even Jero couldn't believe his eyes as he thought he was already in heaven because of how blindingly clean the water was now. But aside from that, the group was more curious about knowing what kind of magic Lex just used a while ago. Lex then revealed that he was using a wide area purification magic, which is a magic he used to clean up big cities and stuff. After seeing the magic up close, Norb and the others were quite surprised to see that such magic even existed. In Lex's first life, he created this magic using the power of the holy attribute so that he could clean stuff easily. Although Lex doesn't really find this magic that amazing, Jero and his crew think otherwise. Lex then plans on using this magic to clean all the ditches around the world from now on. As they moved on to the next one, the group was shocked to see a formless, dark attribute monster lurking in the shadows. Because of its similarity to a sludge, Lex almost didn't spot it. Although there have been a lot of soldiers who ended up getting seriously injured because of these monsters' surprise attack, Lex still thinks that there's no need to go all in, since with the use of his purification magic, the dark blob will disappear in no time. Lex's purification magic is indeed something out of the ordinary. Despite its ability to terminate weak monsters, Meguri is still worried that there must be a few monsters that manage to slip into town. Lex then tells them his theory. Based on his observations, these weak monsters must have slipped through the waterways at night in the cover of darkness and hid in the sludge during the day. Now that Lex has already mentioned it, Mina eventually realized that the creepy voices at night must have come from those same monsters. With that, Lex easily managed to help the group solve their mission. However, Meguri went on to spoil their fun when she stated that they technically failed with the mission, considering they didn't do anything at all. Now that she has mentioned it, Jero and the others eventually realized her point. Lex immediately apologizes to everyone, stating that he didn't really intend to do so. As they got back to the guild, Jero went to ask Lex for a favor. After witnessing what Lex did the other day in the forest, Jero felt like Lex was the perfect guy to ask for advice regarding the perfect weapon to use in battle. Lex then just informs him that his sword is just an ordinary broadsword. Although he amplified it a little, Lex still finds the sword ordinary, like most swords in town. Besides, Lex is aware that it was his lightning magic that finished off the evil boars. Despite how easy Lex may make it sound, Mina is certain that lightning-based magic is actually difficult to pull off. Lex immediately stands against it, stating that for him, lightning-based magic is not that difficult to execute at all. For Alex, as long as one finally understands the theory behind it, they'll be able to use it easily. However, that is only what geniuses like Lex have to say. Mins really took everything he said with a grain of salt. But to make it up to the group for ruining their mission, Lex offered to teach them some lessons regarding the lightning magic. Immediately, Mina grabbed the opportunity and was really happy about it. But aside from Mina, Jero also wanted to ask Lex to teach him more about swords. Since they are already at it, the group eventually went on to check the weapon store. As they got there, Lex was mesmerized looking at the sword equipment displayed everywhere. As he went on to just look at some of the swords, Lex got interested in checking out one of the swords on display. As he got closer, one of the customers actually decided to buy it. But when the blacksmith revealed the price, even Lex, who is rich now, couldn't help but get shocked after hearing the sword actually cost 10 gold coins. The customer immediately defended his purchase, stating that it's really not that expensive considering it's a weapon made by Master Gordov. Now this made Lex curious to know more about this Master Gordov, whom everyone is talking about. He went on to immediately ask Jero about it, whether this Master Gordov is actually that amazing. Shocked, Jero immediately shouted at Lex as if he were some kind of alien for not knowing anything about Master Gordov. Since Lex doesn't seem to fake it, Jero decided to tell him everything he knows. Based on what Jero knows, Master Craftsman Gordov is a great blacksmith widely known not only in town, but even in the neighboring countries. Lex then revealed something that shocked everyone inside the store. As per his observation, the sword that the customer just bought wasn't that good, making him wonder if it was really made by Master Gordov. Hearing this, Master Gordov himself steps out and talks to Lex. With such a serious look on his face, Master Gordov went on to ask Lex about his complaint about the sword. Without any hint of protest, but full of concern and thoughtfulness, Lex states that he just didn't find the sword that special, considering it wasn't made well enough. Intrigued, Master Gordov went on to ask him to continue what he was saying. Lex then explains that although the sword's decoration was gorgeous, but he couldn't feel the spirit in the blade. It is not a mass-produced product, but the tempering process seems to be half-baked. On top of that, Lex also added that the blade was only hammered a few times based on his thorough observation, making the blade quite dull. However, the grip area was well made, and strangely enough, it didn't look like it would break easily. Although the appearance looked like a sword, Lex knows that it's more of a lump of iron that looks like a sword, similar to a wooden sword or a club. Hearing this amused Master Gordov, as he never really expected someone would have good eyes to notice all of those flaws. It turned out, Master Gordov actually did all of that on purpose. Nowadays, people buy his stuff without even knowing titsful you of it. He was tired of people who'd only come to the shop because of heard his name. But now that Gordov has already mentioned it, Lex was kind of worried for the people who brought the swords, since there might be a big chance they'll get injured if the swords are dull. Gordov immediately assures him that there is nothing to worry about, considering the kind of quests those guys would take. They won't even need a weapon to do the job. After hearing all of these revelations, Norb went on to ask Gordov if all the weapons inside his shop are actually dull. Gordov then had a fun idea to let the group play a game. Among all the weapons inside this shop, there is a real weapon that he made with all of his best. So if any of the group managed to find it, then he'll give it to them for free. Immediately, Jero and Meguri went on to look for it while Mina and Norb just stayed put since they already had a weapon of their own. Gordov then notices that Lex doesn't seem to have as much enthusiasm as the other two, so he tells him to try finding it himself as well. Considering Lex managed to see through that dull sword, Gordov is certain that he should be able to find the real one in no time. Gordov's tone was more provoking than encouraging, and Lex likes it. But Lex would like to look after everyone has guessed and picked their weapons. After a few minutes or so, Jero and Meguri were so confident with their picks, but to their dismay, both of them were incorrect. At this point, Jero starts begging Lex to find it no matter what. With no other choice, Lex went ahead and took a closer look at the swords himself. After a while, he ended up choosing one of the dirtiest and oldest-looking swords. At first glance, no one would really think that this was the real deal. However, it turned out that it's actually the most powerful sword in the shop right now. This surprised Jero and Meguri, considering the sword doesn't look like the real deal. Since a promise is a promise, Gordov gave the sword to Lex as a gift. Lex was a bit hesitant to take it, but Gordov assured him that there was nothing to worry about, considering it actually makes him feel great to give something valuable to someone like Lex, who knows the real value of things. However, Lex shocked everyone when he straightforwardly rejected Gordov's gift. Lex tried to negotiate, stating that if Gordov allows it, he would like to gift this sword to Jero. This almost made everyone faint, including Jero. Even Jero's crew was against Lex's decision, stating that it would be a waste if he gave this amazing weapon to someone amateur like Jero. However, since Lex was quite persistent, Gordov wanted to hear his reason as to why he ended up with such a decision. With a serious look on his face, Lex went on to explain that he already has a weapon of his own, so having an extra one just to throw his old one away is just cruel for him. So instead of accepting a sword he wouldn't even use, Lex would rather give it to Jero, who is, after all, a swordsman. However, Gordov doesn't want to allow Lex to hand it over to someone that easily. So Gordov proposed a way how they could take care of this situation. If Lex manages to convince Gordov of why he couldn't let go of his old sword that easily, then Gordov will allow Lex to give the sword to Jero. But if Gordov is not convinced in any way, Lex has no choice but to give his old sword to Jero instead and take Gordov's sword as his. With that said, no matter what the ending is, Jero is excited since he would still nonetheless get either Lex's or Gordov's sword, which is already a big deal to him. Considering Gordov can't be controlled anymore, Lex ended up doing as he said and handed over his old sword for Gordov to inspect. With just one look, Gordov's eyes almost popped out when he saw how beautifully forged Lex's sword is. From being a complete tsundere of Middle-earth, short and grumpy, Gordov suddenly became a snow white-like dwarf, falling in love with Lex's sword in an instant. But what really shocked Gordov was when he found out that Lex was actually the one who made this sword himself. As it turns out, Lex had actually mastered the art of blacksmithing in his previous life, which is why it is so easy for him to make such a beautifully handcrafted sword on his own. Without any hesitation, Gordov bows down to Lex, asking the young man to take him as his apprentice. Gordov is starting to get all emotional, begging Lex to teach him his forging method. At this point, knowing that Gordov would keep kneeling, Lex had no choice but to give him what he wanted. Since Gordov wants to know his forging method, Lex made it clear to the master forger that he won't be able to teach him anything beyond that. Eventually, everyone inside the store was celebrating, with the loudest one being Jero, who just got Gordov's sword for free. Meanwhile, back in town, John, the talented butler of Viscount Grimoire, went to the guild to scout for the adventurer who defeated the dragon. However, when he got there, John didn't expect that Lex would reject his invitation to the dinner party. Since the guild really exercised the rights to protect their adventurers, John had no choice but to come all the way out here to negotiate directly with Lex. As soon as he made it to the guild, John immediately went straight ahead to Elma and asked her about Lex. Elma then informs him that Lex was at the guild a while ago, but he is now out and about doing his quest. Since the person he is after is still not here, John decided to stroll around town in the meantime. On his way out of the guild, he starts to wonder what sort of person Lex may be. Since the guild has refused to disclose any information about Lex, John pretty much doesn't know anything about him at this moment. However, he is really anticipating their first meeting today. Then all of a sudden, Org enters the scene, still emitting that main character energy. On top of that, his sparkling armor that shines like a jewel also emits undeniable charisma and narcissistic energy that makes John believe he is the dragon slayer everyone is talking about today. So without hesitation, John went on to introduce himself to Org. Although John didn't want to jump to conclusions that fast, but after seeing a dragon scale in Org's possession, he starts to slowly believe his speculation. Immediately, John went on to ask Org about it. Knowing that Lex would get angry at him if he told the truth, Org just went on to make up excuses, stating that he stumbled upon it when he was on a quest. John was not yet done with his interrogation and went on to ask Org more questions to supplement his speculation. Then, in the end, when Org stated that he is a first-rate adventurer, John was immediately convinced that Org must be the guy he is looking for. So without hesitation, he immediately invited Org to the mansion while telling him that the Viscount is looking for an adventurer who can become his knight. At first, Org didn't want to accept the invitation. However, since John was pretty persistent about it, Org had no choice but to say yes in the end. Since the afternoon is still long, John decided to leave Org for now and just come back to take him to dinner later tonight. As John left the guild, everyone was shocked by what had just happened. Meanwhile, Lex and Jero also made it back to the guild, and they were able to witness everything that happened. Lex was excited for Org, but that is not the case for Jero. Jero expressed that it is quite absurd for someone to get scouted as a knight by merely wearing shiny armor and possessing a dragon scale. But Lex tried to defend his friend, thinking that it was better this way, since if it wasn't, those people might go after him instead. So to brush the thought out of Jero, Lex went on to open up the conversation about their training. Jero, together with his crew, then went on to follow Lex to a large open field. There, Lex taught the group all the basics, starting off with simple body strengthening magic. Jero then gave Lex a confused look as he felt like this was an impossible thing to do, at least for him, considering that for the longest time he had been alive, he didn't know or hadn't been using magic. Lex then assures him that just because he is a warrior, it doesn't really mean he can't use magic. Alex also explained that everyone has mana that flows inside their body. Although the quantity varies depending on the person, no human doesn't have any mana. So to better explain it to everyone, Lex ended up showing them an example. He went on to concentrate most of his mana in his hand and release it in one go, causing a powerful blast of power. Watching Lex uncover his Hulk-like power surprised everyone, and the fact that he termed it easy almost made everyone faint. At this point, everyone had so many questions to ask Lex. From how he can say this is an easy task to how he didn't even do an incantation to release the spell. Since everyone is confused right now, Lex tried his best to be as patient as possible with everyone. He calmly explains to everyone that, despite the technique being called body enhancement, it is pretty much just about the circulating mana throughout one's body. Although this technique doesn't need an incantation, Lex thinks that Mina and Norb might learn this faster, considering they can already use magic somehow. So to test it out, Mina and Norb went on to give it a try. Although Mina can feel the mana, she still finds it hard to control it without incantation, same with Norb. This made Lex speculate that maybe it is because the two relied too much on chanting for many years that they can't control their mana without it. Meanwhile, since Meguri is a thief who relies most of the time on her intuition, she ended up being the first one to feel the mana everywhere in her body. So there is a big chance that she might be the first among the group to use body-strengthening magic in no time. Meanwhile, as Lex looks at Jero, he starts to realize that there's still a long way to go for this young swordsman. Over the coming hours, the girls really did their best to improve, while Jero is still getting left behind. So to ensure Jero keeps motivated, Lex assures him that he was able to do it through practice, too. Hearing Lex reveal that he practices surprised Jero, as he honestly thought Lex was already born with this talent. Now that they are already at it, Jero went on to ask Lex about what kind of training he had done before. Thinking about it, Lex remembered that during his first life, there were a lot of things he learned from his master. But to keep it simple, Lex just went on to tell Jero that he was training and researching to try to understand what mana truly is. Jero then starts having doubts about himself as he starts to think that he doesn't stand a chance of mastering this, considering he is a warrior that doesn't have a magician talent. Lex, being the patient teacher that he is, went on to encourage Jero to still strive harder, since even Meguri, a thief, still managed to control her mana. On top of that, Lex tries his best to be patient with Jero, considering Jero tends to come to hasty conclusions and get the wrong idea. So to ensure that Jero gets the idea right, Lex decided to explain everything to him in simple terms or in a way he could understand the concepts. And just as Lex expected, Jero managed to pull it off in no time. Although Jero ended up exploding like a time bomb, it was still a success for the young warrior, and Lex couldn't be prouder of him. Now that Jero has unlocked a new skill, Lex reminds him not to overdo it, as he might end up tearing the whole place down if he gets carried away. Meanwhile, the others were amazed at Lex's teaching skills, since they never really thought they would witness Jero using magic even once in their life. But the big question everyone has in mind now is, why did Jero explode earlier? Lex then informed everyone that Jero ended up accumulating too much mana in his body, leading up to such an event. Since body enhancement magic is a magic that strengthens the body by circulating small amounts of mana throughout the body, it's going to burst if it's too much. In Jero's case, Lex noticed that he had accumulated too much mana in his body, causing him to explode. So he reminds Jero that the next time he finds himself accumulating this much mana, he should immediately make an exit for that mana so the same thing doesn't happen again. Curious, Mina asks Lex how they could even create an exit. Now this is when Lex finally revealed the secret behind using magic without chanting. According to him, if one releases the mana accumulated in the body through magic as a way for it to exit, it can easily flow out of the body without the caster using any chance. However, Lex also reminded them that for this to work, the caster should also add attributes to ensure they are not releasing unprocessed mana. Hearing all of this made Mina excited. Considering she is a magician, Lex is certain that Mina would be able to learn this technique faster than the others. However, considering this technique is something that every magician should know, Lex couldn't help but wonder why Mina's teacher didn't teach her to do this in the first place. Lex then starts to speculate that maybe Mina's magic teacher wants her to undergo some sort of Spartan training or something. Then Norb rushes towards Lex, informing him that Jero has stopped moving all of a sudden. Lex assures her that there is nothing to worry about since Jero just ran out of mana. Since this often happens to people who get carried away after just learning magic, Jero will gain back his energy in no time. While Norb and Lex kept talking to each other, Meguri ended up losing consciousness as well. But to make it worse, Mina also went down as well. Immediately, he and Norb went on to take the three and let them sit down and rest for a bit. At this point, Lex finally realizes that maybe on their next training, they should start managing the usage of mana to ensure this doesn't happen again. Meanwhile, at Viscount Grimoire's house, the Viscount is finally preparing for the Dragon Slayer's visit. John was so confident that Org was the person behind the extermination of the Green Dragon and the evil boars. Despite it costing the Viscount so much money, he is relieved that the Dragon Core is now finally in their hands. The Viscount is planning to use this Dragon Core to improve the accuracy of Celia's foresight. Celia Aju is an expert at fortune-telling magic called Foresight. There are tons of fortune-telling magic users in this world, but Celia's fortune-telling is far more accurate than that of the others. She is very accurate to the point where it affects the management of Viscount Grimoire's territory, though John tends to wonder how dragon materials are used in fortune-telling. The Viscount then states that he doesn't really have any idea how, But the only important thing for him is Celia's foresight to increase its accuracy. More importantly, the Viscount also asks John about the adventurer who hunted the dragon if he ever managed to actually get hold of him. With much confidence, John went on to assure the Viscount that he had made contact with the adventurer in question, and all that's left for the Viscount to do is to negotiate. Thinking that the adventurer they are looking for is Org, John didn't even hesitate to guarantee the Viscount that he would surely succeed in making Org accept the offer. But no matter the outcome, the Viscount will do everything to ensure that they counter the calamity that Celia foresaw. Celia said that she saw a disastrous sight, a sight where the Viscount's territory is engulfed in flames by someone's hand. Although the Viscount didn't want to believe it at first, but after the incident with the green dragon, the evil boards, and the dark blob, the Viscount couldn't help but feel a bit of worry about it. Every one of those creatures is our monster that is classified to cause serious problems, and the Viscount feels like there is no way those things could occur in such a short time frame, all at once. So he ended up concluding that something bad is happening in his land that he needs to stop, no matter what. With that being said, one of his solutions is to make the strongest adventurer of the town become his knight, to ensure that this powerful adventurer doesn't fall into the hands of another nobleman. A few days later, it turns out that Celia was actually the Viscount's daughter. Looking a bit worried, Celia immediately rushes to see his father in his home office to tell him about her foresight. Celia tells her father that she can now see her visions more clearly thanks to the dragon core that her father gave her. Although this is nice, Celia couldn't help but get worried as fear started to linger inside her after what she saw. In her newest visions, she managed to see a group of monsters that she had never seen before, covering the entire land. Hearing this made the Viscount panic a little. But after remembering that they have Org on their side, the Viscount's worry starts to somehow diminish. Celia didn't really get her father's point at first, considering how a single adventurer defeated an army of monsters alone. The Viscount then tells Celia that this adventurer is different from the rest, since he is the same person who defeated the green dragon. John also added that this same adventurer is the one responsible for terminating 3 evil boars that were recently sold at the auction back in the capital. Not only that, since based on the reports the Viscount got, that same adventurer was also the one who managed to defeat the dark blob that slipped into the town. At this point, even just from hearing all of his father's description of this man, Celia couldn't help but admire him. Immediately, she went on to ask her father just who this strong adventurer may be. The Viscount didn't even hesitate to say that it was Org. Meanwhile, Org, acting like a real sneeze rouge, all goofy and still unserious, is back at the guild, eating as much food as usual. For some reason, Org somehow managed to sense that someone must be talking about him. Going back to Lex and the others. After quite a long, tiring day of training, Jero and his group went on to rest a bit and lie on the grassy ground. Although they thought that they'd already had enough for the day, Lex, being their push-no-jutsu master, informs everybody that they'll still have a few rounds of practice before they call it a day. To Lex's defense, he immediately explained to everyone that it is better for them to practice while they have low mana. That way, they can remember the minimum mana they needed to activate the body's strengthening magic. After hearing so, Jero, who was just knocked out a while ago, is now back with full energy to train once again. Although this may be nothing special for some, Meguri somehow noticed something. Certainly, Jero has a lot of stamina because he is a warrior, however, Meguri wonders why it isn't the case with her as well, despite her having the same role as Jero somehow. So the girls speculated that maybe Lex taught Jero some technique without including them, since Jero is his die-hard fan and OG student. Lex immediately assures everyone that he didn't do such a thing. So to make sure everyone believes him, he went on to ask Jero to use his body-strengthening magic to show everyone that he is doing the same thing as them. Just as Lex expected, Jero indeed improved with little training. Although Jero was slacking at first and was left behind by the girls, Jero managed to include some attributes, just like what Lex told them to do a while ago. Now that they are already at it, Lex moved on to their next lesson, which is called the attribute enhancement. Since Jero managed to incorporate this technique without Lex discussing it with them in depth, the young swordsman couldn't help but be proud of himself. Mina then starts teasing Jero around, telling him not to get ahead of himself so much. As usual, their sibling-like energy never really failed to make Lex smile. But before they start fighting again, Lex went on to continue with his lessons. Lex went on to explain that based on his hypothesis, The reason why Jero managed to do this technique ahead of others is because of his strong image of Norb's recovery magic to get the hang of his body-strengthening magic. Because of that, Jero somehow unknowingly processed the colorless mana into a holy mana of recovery magic. Lex further explained that the attribute that Jero added to his body-strengthening magic is classified as Heal Boost, which is clad in recovery magic. Lex also added that there are others too, like Flame Boost, which is clad in flames, and Spark Boost, which is clad in lightning. So to put it simply, Mina concluded that there must be one for each attribute. Lex then added that aside from the 6 attributes in magic, which are earth, water, fire, wind, light, and dark, there are also other attributes like lightning, ice, and many more. Which means it's convenient because anyone can do anything with those defending the application. Hearing this made Jero excited since this simply means he can use body-strengthening magic with various attributes in the future. So despite the soreness they feel right now, Jero is willing to continue training once again. Then suddenly, in the midst of their conversation, a loud tremor shook the whole forest. Lex immediately checks what's going on from the sky, and to their surprise, a cursed viper has just appeared. This monster is bigger than the evil boars that Lex took down the other day. On top of that, they are far more ominous, making the group worry. Knowing that Lex is no ordinary adventurer, Meguri went on to ask him just what a cursed viper is. If Lex's memory serves him right, this is actually a monster from the demon world. Which means this is a monster that isn't supposed to be in this world. But for a size that big, even with summoning magic, no one can possibly let this monster out that easily. Jero, excited to finally use what he just learned from his training, tells Lex that they should just do their best to defeat it. However, to Jero's surprise, Lex actually didn't recommend fighting this monster at all. Like what it says on the monster's name, Lex is aware of the fact that if they approach this cursed viper, they'll end up taking damage from the miasma it releases. It is also an untouchable monster, so Lex is certain that all of them will be cursed by evil magic if they touch it. Even Mina had an idea of what damage this monster could inflict on them, hence why it is called the Night Slayer. Moreover, Mina also thinks that even if they tried, they would still end up dead, considering the viper's body is huge and moves so fast. The fact that only 3 in the group can use magic makes it even worse for them. On top of that, Norb also thinks that it would be best for them to leave this matter to the A-rank adventurers, considering these are monsters from the demon world they are dealing with. Since it can't be helped, Jero finally lowers his guard and does as his teammates suggested. However, Lex made everyone worried when he decided to intercept the monster. But Lex didn't have any other choice, considering this creature is fast, and if he doesn't intercept it, the viper might reach town before they even could. Everyone finally starts to worry, but Lex assures them that everything will be all right. On top of that, Lex also wanted to grab this opportunity to show everyone the power of body-strengthening magic in a real-life battle. Without hesitation, Lex dives right into the viper while casting his Holy Boost attribute. Using this attribute, Lex would be able to increase their attack power and also repel the viper's curse at the same time. Without even a hint of fear, Lex went on to punch and beat the monster with all of his power. Despite Lex being small, he still managed to send the cursed viper flying. With just a few moves, Lex managed to take care of the problem alone. Jero and the others immediately ran towards him to check if he was all right. To their surprise, Lex still continues with his lectures, encouraging Jero that with practice, he'll also be able to beat monsters like this easily next time. Although Lex made it sound like an easy task to do, Norb went on to worryingly ask him if the threat of monsters from the demon world is gone now. Lex's expression turned serious when he truthfully told everyone that he was not sure himself. Since cursed vipers are monsters that are not suitable to summon, Lex has a strong feeling that there is a gate that connects this world to the demon world. However, since Lex wasn't able to sense the cursed viper at first, he speculates that the gate might be hidden by some kind of barrier magic. Now this made Norb and the others question who might do such a thing, considering this might end their world if not stopped. So Lex volunteered to look for the gate himself and collect the viper's materials along the way. As soon as Lex left, Jero couldn't hold himself anymore and just burst into amazement. At this point, Lex is like a hero to Jero, and Jero would do anything so that he'll be able to fight like Lex someday. Mina then cut Jero's screen time short and told everyone that they should go after Lex and help him gather the materials. But before they can even leave, something ominous appears that almost made Jero pee his own pants. The unknown creature with wings charges towards them, but everyone can't move their bodies. Jero starts to wonder if he is under a spell. Everyone's body suddenly froze because of this creature's ridiculous mana. At this point, since they can't move an inch, the group thought that this might be the end for them already. But before something bad happened, Meguri managed to move and help the three. And suddenly everyone can move now. But because of trying to help the group dodge the attack, Meguri ended up taking it all into herself, causing her to acquire so much injury from just one hit. Jero and the rest of the group immediately check on her while the monster, flying up in the air, is quite astonished that he wasn't able to take them all down in one go. Mina finally realized that this creature might be some sort of a demon, considering the bat wings it has on its back. Hearing Mina say so shocked Jero, as he never really expected demons from those fairy tale stories to truly exist. The demon suddenly starts laughing at the fact that these humans forgot them. But what's more fun for this demon is seeing them all suffer in pain. As he was about to charge in, Jero tried his best to use his body-strengthening power to use. Seeing how Jero is trying his best to help everyone, Mina also steps in to help, casting a chantless magic as a surprise attack. However, no matter how much they try, none of their moves work to inflict injury on the demon. At this point, the demon ended up laughing at how the modern magician's power had already fallen from grace. Since the demon is already losing patience with these kids, he went on to send another attack to finally end them. Although Jero and the others managed to dodge it at first, it's an attack that tracks one's target. So Jero had no other choice but to take his chance and fight this monster head-on. This time around, Jero decided to do everything that he could for his team, even if it may cost him his life. At first, the demon was laughing at Jero's foolish act. However, everything changed when Jero's dedication finally paid off. Just like what Lex did a while ago, Jero went on to concentrate his mana and release using the most powerful attribute that he has. And surprisingly, Jero managed to pull it all off. However, he didn't do this alone since he actually had some help from Norb. A while back, Jero saw Norb's signal after she finished giving Meguri first aid. It turns out that the two actually had a plan. When Norb saw Jero jumping into the demon's attack, she immediately understood that he was asking her to cast a defensive spell on him. Since Jero already has the body-strengthening magic that Lex taught him, with Norb's defense magic and traces of the elemental strengthening heal boost, they ended up taking down the demon with one blow. Although everyone's pretty much injured, Jero could never be more proud of himself for managing to stay alive and keeping everyone safe despite the uncertainty. However, to Jero's dismay, the demon is actually still alive. But this time around, the demon is far more furious and excited than he was before. Although it would have been nice if Jero had ended up defeating the demon, but as it turns out, he was actually just trying to buy Lex some time. With that said, Lex finally entered the scene, knocking the demon in one go. Lex was happy that he made it in time. It turns out that Lex suddenly had a bad feeling after collecting the corpse of the cursed viper, so he hurried to go back to where the others were. But he didn't expect to meet a demon, the enemy of humanity. Although Lex took him by surprise and blew him away, Lex knows that it is not over yet, since this monster will definitely return in no time. More importantly, Lex is also worried about everyone. Although Norb and Mina look unharmed, he is pretty sure that they've already spent most of their mana. Meanwhile, as for Meguri and Jero, they need to be treated as soon as possible. So with the best he could, Lex plans on healing them before the demon comes back. Using the same high-distant heal technique he used before, Lex managed to treat everyone's wound in one go. Now that it's already been taken care of, Lex tells everyone to stand back while he takes care of the demon. Although Jero would love to assist Lex in this fight, but since he doesn't want to be a burden to his master, Jero decided to just step back and leave it all to Lex. Just on time, the monster started roaring like crazy once again. This time around, he is definitely more furious than before. The demon couldn't take the fact that these mere humans actually managed to knock him down multiple times already. On top of that, Lex also ended up provoking him even more, causing the demon to charge in rashly. Meanwhile, Lex tries to keep calm as much as possible to ensure that nothing bad happens to this world. Based on what Lex knows, demons have a basic ability called Dark Flash. But Lex is confused as he can't feel that much power from this particular demon, making him wonder if this creature is a low-class demon. But more importantly, Lex still has a bigger problem, and that is the dark hole that appeared out of nowhere, making it a gate to connect this world to the demon world. Considering this gate poses a bigger threat than the demon itself, Lex tries to think of ways to quickly defeat this creature so that it won't be too late for him to destroy the gate. As he is trying to think of a way, Lex suddenly comes up with an idea. Since the demon is in a straight line to the gate, Lex decided to just exterminate both of them at once. Since this will take up a lot of his energy, Lex felt a surge of energy telling him to get a bit serious for this. While the demon is literally rampaging on the side, Lex went on to activate his magic sword. With so much concentration, Lex went on to initiate his attack using his Dimension Break technique. The Dimensional Cut is a magic that disconnects the space and cuts everything in sight. It is a spatial attack that nullifies any physical and magical defense. Since it has been quite some time since Lex has used a large-scale magic like this one, he somehow felt good using it in this fight. And just like that, Lex managed to take care of the demon and the gate all at the same time. Meanwhile, Jero and the others looked like they had had enough for the day, but their amazement towards Lex was still top-notch. After that long, tiring day, Lex and the others immediately head back to the guild. As soon as they arrived, Elma went on to inform Lex that the rewards for the dragon and the evil boars had finally arrived. The rewards were so large that Lex even needed to enter the waiting room to get them. After hearing this, Jero was a bit sad since he wouldn't be able to know how much money Lex made, since Elma wouldn't allow him to enter as well. Lex then gave his permission to let Jero and the others enter, considering he knows Jero will still ask him about it anyway. Without any choice, Elma allowed them all to enter. As they got inside the room, the group was not really amazed when they saw the small pouch of reward left at the table. Thinking that Lex just got a few gold coins, the group was a bit disappointed. However, when Elma revealed that inside the pouch were around 20 platinum coins, Norb almost fainted. Norb then informs everyone, especially Lex, that 1 platinum coin is equivalent to 10,000 gold coins. Since Lex has 20 in total, this only means that he is now worth 200,000 gold coins, which is quite a sum for an ordinary adventurer. With that said, Elma even encourages Lex to bring the corpse of the big-time monsters he'll hunt in the future, as she'll assure him he'll make great money out of it. Now that Elma has already mentioned it, Lex plans on selling the body of the cursed viper from the demon world they hunted a while ago. However, the group was worried that the cursed viper might end up cursing everyone now once it's sold. Meanwhile, Elma was trembling in shock when she heard the group reveal all of those. To make it worse, Lex even told her about the demon and the demon gate, causing her to almost faint.